Hey everybody, Mike from the Focused Garage here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at what is needed to install a Sissy Bar on your Harley Davidson. Now, for pretty much any Softail, Dyna, or Sportster chassis, this process is going to be very, very similar. The one that you're looking at on this motorcycle is the Burley brand Sissy Bar. So you can see here it's got nice little cushy passenger backrest, and it's very well integrated into the little fender bracket there. The largest reason that I chose to put a Sissy Bar on my motorcycle is because, one, I really like kind of the added aggression with it. I'm gonna walk around here and show you. But it's one of those things that, in my opinion, it's so well designed that it almost looks factory on this bike. So you can't really go wrong with, the way it works and the way it just kind of gets streamlined, integrated into the motorcycle there. All of these are going to mount a little bit differently. Keep in mind this one is specific to the Burley brand Sissy Bar, so keep that in mind, when you're shopping different ones. With that being said, I use mine not really so much for two-up riding, but to secure cargo to the motorcycle. So I'll often put like a backpack here and use like bungee cords to tie it down to this to make sure that the cargo doesn't go anywhere. Makes it a lot easier than having to carry a backpack while you ride, but it also still kind of, gives you the style of it whenever you don't have that on there. So definitely a fan of that and the way that all works. So what is a Sissy Bar? No, it's not a place you go to pick up sissies. It's not something you beat somebody with. It's literally just, in very old term, where you've got obviously this piece of metal on the back of the motorcycle, which could be used for two-up riding or however else that you see fit. So there's a whole article on Revzilla about the definition of a Sissy Bar, so I may go ahead and link that for you just so you can actually get a whole read of it if you want to check it out. But this video is not about the origin of a Sissy Bar. I just want to show you what it takes to install this particular one on your motorcycle. Now, this is the hardware that you're going to be looking at. Burley brand actually gives you two new bolts that are longer to replace the factory ones. So what I'm holding in my hand here are the factory bolts in the order that they came off of the fender. So you've got the longer one, and then you've got a smaller one. You can see that they are just your kind of standard Harley Davidson Allen-headed bolts. So if you don't have a set of Allen-headed sockets or even just big old Allen keys, you are going to need some of those to be able to install this on your motorcycle here. So obviously this is going to be a little bit backwards because I've already got this mounted on the bike, but you still get the idea. So for the first one here, you're going to go ahead and remove this bolt. Be careful because there is a nut behind here. I believe it's a 9mm or a 12mm behind here. So you've got a nut on the back of this, and then you've got the front one here. So to remove that, obviously hold the nut on the back, take the front bolt off, and then back here you've got this little metal bracket that actually secures a wiring harness to the inside of the fender. So be careful because you don't need to hold it while you remove this, but once you do unscrew this bolt, that bracket is going to fall off. It's kind of like a U-shaped metal clip that goes up there, and it holds and tucks the wires into place. So be aware of that as you're taking this out. Through my installation, I've learned that you do want to remove these corner lights here just to get more room, because obviously if I come straight at it here, you can see this big lens is blocking your access to that bolt. So this removes very, very easily. There's a little tab right in here. Stick a plastic pry tool in there and pop that off. So that gives you access to be able to remove this lens and get to that bolt. So pretty much what you'll do is, remove the front bolt, and then after you remove this lens, you'll remove the rear bolt. And you'll want to repeat the process on both sides. The process is exactly the same on both sides. You've got two more bolts here. Then, taking the longer bolts that Burley gives you, you're going to want to replace them in a similar order while managing to sandwich the Sissy Bar onto this fender mount. So you can see here, this is the way the Sissy Bar actually mounts. So it's pretty much the bolt, the factory washer, and then it goes right into the little fender bracket here. Now, one thing to take note of is that that factory nut on the other side of this is still retained. It's obviously just got a longer bolt. So when you're installing this, make sure that you've got your wrench up here in between the fender to hold the nut in place while you go ahead and tighten this bolt down. Something that I did want to mention that were in the Burley instructions, but I know a lot of people overlook, is you want to loosely tighten everything before you snug it down. The way this is made is it's such a exact and precise tolerance that if you tighten down the front before tightening the back all the way, you're going to have issues with this not wanting to pretty much stretch to where you need it to. You need everything a little bit loose on all four corners before you start snugging stuff down all the way. So make sure that you have the threads started on everything before you go ahead and crank them down. So the Burley provided bolts are a little bit longer. You'll just kind of put them in the same spots that the Harley Davidson bolts were. So Harley, like I said, has one shorter bolt, one longer bolt. Same thing with the Burley ones. You're going to get one shorter one, one longer one. Put those in the respective spots. I was able to install this on my own. However, I have heard stories of people using a friend to help you hold this bar in place while you're getting the screws in, because it is kind of scary that you're going to smack this metal into this or into your motorcycle or something like that while you're putting this piece on your motorcycle. The other challenge that I would say is get a look. I'm not going to be able to film it probably, but get a look up on the other side of this piece before you take it off, so you can see what that little bracket looks like that I'm talking about. Because if you lose that little wiring harness clip and you don't know which orientation it goes underneath there, you're going to be in for a very bad time when you go to put your motorcycle back together. Because one, you're going to have the issue of the wire rubbing against the bike and the tire, and you can rub right through your wiring harness. But you're also not going to have anything to thread that nut or thread that bolt into. So make sure you pay attention to that. The front ones, there's a 9 or a 12 millimeter bolt on each side, and the rear ones have these little U-shaped clips that hold a wiring harness in place there. Nothing is overly difficult about this installation. However, the biggest thing that I would make mention of is just the tight space that you're working in. So when you're underneath here, you're pretty much the small area between the tire and the fender is where you're trying to get your hand in the backside to access what needs to be accessed. I've heard of stories that it'll make it easier if you've got access to a motorcycle lift to prop the bike up on a lift and then let the rear suspension hang, because obviously you'll have a lot more room to get your hand up in there. Or I've even heard people as crazy enough to disconnect the rear shocks. That way the whole rear swing arm area falls down and you've got all the access in the world you need to get your hands up in there. I don't think that's entirely necessary. I think that's creating more work than what's needed to actually install this piece on the bike. However, I can see where people are coming from if they do have an issue getting up in there. I'm just going to walk around to this side here so you can see it's exactly the same. You've got obviously the Sissy Bar, and then kind of the little integrated mount on there. Something that's really neat about this bar and the pad though is the stitching on this is pretty much the same sort of stitching that's on the factory seats. So like I said, it really gives you that kind of OEM look that you can't tell anything's different. And something that's nice about this too is, depending on what kind of look you're going for your motorcycle, this is available in 2 different finishes. So you can get this in the black finish like we've got here, or you can get this in a chrome finish. Now, I know on my motorcycle it probably would have made more sense to go with the chrome finish, just because I've already got so much black or so much chrome on the bike and not really any black. But hey, it's not the end of the world. I still kind of prefer the black look, just because over time, if I do keep this motorcycle, I wanted to add more black accenting to it anyways. So that's going to be how the Sissy Bar works. Makes it more comfortable for a rear passenger on the motorcycle, and also just adds to the aesthetic. I use it for the cargo piece, but like I said, you can pretty much use it for anything. This installation should not be too hard. It should be something that anybody could be able to knock out in an hour or less. Biggest difficulties you'll run into is just the overall cramped space that you're working in up in the fender there. I've posted pictures of this piece on social media, and I've gotten pretty good responses, but again, this video stems from questions that we've gotten from you guys, the viewers here. A lot of you are asking, was that on the bike when you bought it? Or, I see that you did install it. What kind of difficulties did you go about? But yeah, something else to mention too, Burley does recommend putting blue Loctite on these bolts, just because it is a Harley Davidson and it is Rattle City. So you may want to look into getting blue Loctite for that, because the installation kit does not come with it. The installation kit comes with the Sissy Bar itself, the backrest, and then the new hardware. However, Loctite is not included in the kit. So pay attention to that if you do want to triple check your installation and make sure everything is good to go. With all that being said, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one. If you guys do have any questions, go ahead and drop them down in the comments below. I know we're kind of venturing into a little bit of motorcycle stuff, a little bit of car stuff, so let us know what kind of more content you'd like to see, and we'll make sure to get that stuff out for you guys. This is Mike from the Focus Garage, and I will catch you in the next video.